So one of the areas of positive psychology which we will use today is concentration. And the person who has worked in this area is that second name there. It is Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. So Eastern European origin. He has worked in this area for more than 30 years. 30 years. What he has concentrated upon is how to enrich our life. He says the quality of our life depends upon the quality of our experience. I'll repeat that again. The quality of our day-to-day, minute experience of life, what we are experiencing now. The better the quality of that, better we feel our life is. So the quality of my life depends upon the quality of my experience. And his basic thesis is the quality of experience, on what does it depend? He says it depends on concentration, on focus, on attention. And the book is Flow, the Psychology of Optimal Experience. He calls it flow. And where did he get this word? He says he was once interviewing a music composer, or one who composes and conducts orchestral music. So that in that interview, he asked that composer, what is the best part of your experience, your day-to-day experience? When are you happiest? When are you achieving the most? What do you feel at that time? And that composer, he said this. He says, when I'm composing or you're composing, you feel you are in an ecstatic state to such a point that you feel as though you almost don't exist. You don't exist almost. I have experienced this time and again. My hand seems devoid of myself and I have nothing to do with what is happening. I just sit there watching it in a state of awe and wonderment, and the music just flows out of itself. He's conducting some musical thing, and he says, my hand is almost as if it is moving by itself. That is the highest state of performance which he has experienced. And this is nothing very amazing, you know. It is something that we have all experienced. Especially in a place like this, in an IIT, in IIT Kanpur, many, if not all of you, you would have experienced it while studying, while doing research. To some extent, all of you would have experienced it. A time when you are completely absorbed in your work, whether you are reading something or doing research in a lab or whatever, you're completely absorbed in your work. It's tough, it's demanding, but you know, there's a flow to it. Sometimes you see there's no flow to it. You're struggling. And sometimes you feel bored. I mean, you're not struggling, but it's very too easy and you know what you're doing and it's mechanical. But sometimes there is a flow which comes. This is the word which he has used, flow. And we'll investigate that further. This is important. This is where he begins. Don't take these figures too literally. I'm sure those who are doing research can come up with better figures. But basically what he has done here is, he says, Csikszentmihalyi, he says, our cognitive capacity is limited. We don't have infinite cognitive capacity. We have limited cognitive capacity, and he uses the terms of information technology, IT, to sort of estimate what could be our cognitive capacity. And his estimate is like this. He says we can more or less roughly process 7 bits in the sense of computer bits, computer information technology bits, 7 bits of information at a time, and it takes 1/18 of a second, he says, to discriminate between 2 bits of information. Basic idea, only one figure you need to take away from this. He says approximately our capacity to absorb information from the world outside by seeing, hearing, whatever, is 126 bits per second. 126 bits per second, that is our capacity to absorb information. And if you calculate it, it comes to some 7,560 bits per minute, 500,000 bits per hour. And if you stay awake for 16 hours a day, so it's about 185 billion bits in a 70-year lifespan, and so on and so forth. It seems to be very big. But actually, he says, this is very limited. This information is actually very limited. And he gives an example. He says that you are listening to me now. And out of that 126 bits of informational processing capacity which we all have, out of that which you have, you are actually using up some 60 bits per second just to listen to me and understand what I'm saying. That's why he says it's very difficult if 2 people speak to you at the same time. If two people speak to you at the same time, you find it difficult to absorb, it's irritating also. And if three people speak to you at the same time, it's impossible. You cannot understand what each person is saying if you try to listen and understand. The reason is, at 60 bits per second, three people speaking to you would be 180 bits, which is beyond human capacity to absorb and assimilate. Therefore, he says that this capacity, this is what we have. From moment to moment, second to second, this is the cognitive capacity each of us has, approximately. Principle is, we have a very limited bandwidth. Okay, keep this in mind. So when in a school, the teacher shouts at the students, pay attention. It's literally true. Each student has 126 bits per second, which he or she can divide among the teacher and the classmates and many other things in the environment. So when the teacher says pay attention, he or she wants more of your 126 bits per second. This is the basic idea. What is concentration then? Defined by positive psychology by Csikszentmihalyi. Concentration is very simple. He says, how much of that 126 bits per second which you or I have, how much of that am I able to give to the object of concentration? 126 bits, how much of that can I give to the object of concentration? Can I give 80, 90, 100? You can't give all 126 bits, because at least you must be aware of your own existence. You're breathing, you're aware of the environment. To some basic environmental awareness is always there. So maybe 100, 110 bits you can give to the object of concentration. If you can do that, that's perfect concentration.